Hello everyone, this is my week 4 physics summary. So I don't know why I'm starting on Thursday, that's not a good start. Let's go back. Alright, this is my first time using screencast, so take it easy on me. So we began the week Tuesday by seeing a relationship between the force of gravity equation, the correlation it had between itself and the force between two charged objects. So you can clearly see they're both dependent on distance and the characteristics of two objects, and of course the constant given for both equations. I found this fascinating. Never thought to compare the two. I don't know how. It's pretty obvious that there's a correlation. We then used the PhET simulator to see where an E field was zero. For example, we'd have a positive charge here, a positive charge here, and in the center the E field would be zero. This is due to these two objects pushing at the same strength and canceling each other out in the middle. We also used a little bit of algebra using this diagram and Coulomb's law to come up with an equation to calculate where the E field is zero. It's pretty straightforward. There's algebra, simple math. After this, we moved on to our Arduino projects. My group was assigned number 8, which was essentially an hourglass type system. The purpose of it was to keep track of time. We had to wire up 6 LED bulbs and program them to come on every 10 minutes. So 10 minutes have passed, one bulb come on, another 10 minutes, second bulb, etc. Once all 6 bulbs are lit up, an hour's passed. It's a pretty straightforward project. We try to go above and beyond and make it to where once the bulbs reached an hour and we're all lit up, we try to make it to where they all flash to let you know that the max time has expired. But we couldn't quite figure out the programming, so that's to be continued, hopefully. Thursday, we started off the class by going over our assigned homework from the Spiral Physics book, or the PDF file, I should say. It was pretty much the same stuff that we did Tuesday in class. We'd be given a scenario with different charged particles in different areas, or charged objects, whatever you want to consider them, and there'd be points set in that scenario that we had to find the direction of the vector that the direction the vector be facing, based off of the effects of that point on the charged particles, or vice versa. It was pretty straightforward. I got majority of the answers right, but I had some wrong because I did not think about using the PhET simulator to check my work at home. We whiteboarded this, and pretty much we didn't discuss it as a class, but we whiteboarded it just to help us collaborate as a group and come up with a consensus and see what we were doing. We also were given another sphere and rod scenario, kind of just review. In this in particular scenario that I was in charge of whiteboarding, we had the spheres touching each other, neutral charged spheres, and touched by a positive rod, and had to explain what was happening. They lose their electric charges to the positive rod, and once the rod's let go, since they lost electric charges, they are both, or negative charges, they're both positive now. After that, we were once again let loose to do our Arduino projects. We were moving on to our number 13 at this time, which is our second project. It was a touch meter. So under my understanding, this is how it works. We had this program to send a current through this wire over this resistor and back through here. And as long as this current didn't fluctuate at all, this LED bulb remained off. If there was a fluctuation in this current at all, this bulb came on. And the way we get that fluctuation is by completing another circuit this way. So if you had somebody grab the end of this little green wire and complete a circuit, there becomes a variation in this loop because the current branches off in this direction. So when it receives a signal back in here, the current's different from when it left, and this would cause the LED bulb to go on. For the most part, we accomplished this. We did have a slight dilemma, because when somebody grabbed this wire, it did not cause the bulb to go on, but they had to grab it and ground themselves to a metal part within the circuit, so in order for the bulb to come on. So they had to grab this wire and then ground themselves to, for example, this metal piece, or even touch the laptop to get this LED bulb to come on. I'm not sure why this happened, because it should have come on just by somebody grabbing this wire. Can't explain that. Outside of classwork was kind of heavy this week, but it wasn't nothing extreme, just busy work. I started off, I should say, by watching the Waiting for Superman documentary about our educational system in the United States. Super frustrating video for me. I found it kind of appalling. I don't know how we go about our lives with kids not having equal opportunities. How could one kid be stuck at a poor school, not get the proper education, not given a chance, essentially? It ain't up to them where they end up. So you're just letting the kid come to this world, being put in a worse place than another kid. It's just, I don't feel it's right at all. Something that needs to be, or should be, focused on and fixed as a country. I moved on after the discussion to VPython, which was so-so for me. I guess it was pretty easy at first until I got to some time delays in lesson 6 and whatnot. It became a little bit of a pain, but nothing too crazy. I'll show you just this example of my initials going in opposite directions. Is, I think, number 5, lesson 5, yeah. Nothing crazy. I liked it because it just got me a little bit more familiar with programming. Another outside of class thing we had to accomplish was neat resources for 3D printing and I guess programming. I found what I got out of this was I had no idea that 3D printing was so big already. There's so many people providing this resource already for vehicles, prosthetics, medical, military. I had no idea it was this useful already. It's pretty mind-blowing, actually. I learned about it, technology, and then next thing I know, it's used everywhere. Pretty crap. I guess I'm living under a rock the past couple months or years. What I got out of this week was I became really familiar with Arduinos. The beginning or the end of last week, Thursday, we started our projects messing with Arduinos. I wasn't too familiar with what capacitors, resistors, and different type of switches and whatnot did, and I became pretty familiar with it over the time. Another thing that I found useful was the PhET simulator. It's easy for somebody to sit there and tell you, oh, this does this, or this reacts with this, but to be able to see it and actually see the simulated E-field, it really helped me put 2 and 2 together. The biggest thing this week, though, I got out of this class was a connection it had with my other 2 classes I have this semester, which is Digital Fundamentals and Circuits. For example, Digital Fundamentals, we are learning what circuits are, what they're made of, the components, what they do, and now get to use them hands-on in Physics 131. Really helps me get a grasp on these other classes. In Circuits, we actually learn how to calculate resistance and current and voltage through these currents. It's just, I love how this semester all my classes coincide together. It's really nice to see. Other than that, this week, nothing special. It was really heavy on our Arduino project side. This pretty much was our focus. And I gotta get to working on my presentation for Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.